Welcome into 11 Personnel, episode 157. That's right. We're 150 episodes in to the Kentucky Football Podcast. And I'm Nick Roush with Adam Luckett after a whirlwind weekend. Yes, if I sound exasperated because it was pretty crazy, Luckett. We're getting close to football season. I was hoping just to talk ball, but that they had different plans for us, the powers that be.
Feels like a dream, right? Like I keep waiting to wake up. Like, wow, that was a really weird dream. There's a lot here. This is a football podcast, so I think the big takeaway is there's some stuff with Cal and Barnhart. That's probably the biggest thing to come out of all this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't really need to get into all that. That's pretty, I think, blatant, quote unquote entitled. Grace, all those big buzzwords we heard from Kentucky's athletic director on Saturday in a 40-minute. Felt like I was being preached to. So I mean, there was just a lot there. That is clear. Like that. I mean, that is, yeah. Like that face, right? That's how I felt. I was talking, like Mitch Barnhart was talking to me. I felt that I was getting that face. That is clear. But the big thing here is like, how does this? Where's Kentucky football and all this? And where do they fall? I think that's what our audience wants to know.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead.
I would just say that somehow it feels like not only is the college football world kind of rallying behind Mark Stoops, but the teams really rally behind it. And therefore, in the immediate aftermath of Cal's basketball school comments, there was a point where you thought, oh man, is Stoops making a mistake by not letting this just slide under the rug, right? Because it wasn't really a story until Mark Stoops reacted. And then that's what.
But Cal said something he had to. He went to Thanksgiving. He called his brother's sister, said she didn't look good, and then he called her fat. Like, you have to say something. Like, he cannot just sit there. He said fighting words. And he had to stand up and say something. So I don't like, now he took a low blow. The 4 postseason wins, that's a low blow. That he did not need to do that. But that he went there. And then when he went there, there was, he got a little fired up. We've all gotten a little fired up, and he kept going. So we can argue if he went too far. I think that's fair.
What was your favorite Mark Stoops pot shot at John Calipari? Because there were some really good ones in there. I personally enjoyed
the third base comment is going to live forever. I mean, that is the ultimate to me. But like, I mean, that's a kick in the nuts. 4 straight postseason wins. Cal has not won anything. I mean, Cal has not. He hasn't won. Like, if you want to talk basketball significance for Kentucky, what when you go on the Wikipedia page, what is there other than NCAA tournament appearances, SEC championships, SEC tournament championships, Final Fours, NCAA championships? He hasn't won one of those. So, I mean, that's whatever. But that's what Stoops was kind of, with the third base comment and all that.
Yeah.
And so that's where that was. I would say that was my favorite. Yeah, this quote right here. Some may, but I can promise you, this football team didn't wake up on third base. That was a whoa! Like in the room, I was like, "Holy crap! Did he just say that?"
The one that kind of slipped by us all because we were focused on that comment. Also, the one where he said, I appreciate our basketball history. I know it. I love it. But I know that it's all about winning now and winning the postseason. And that's what we've done, creating history. The one that was really maybe the most sly remark was when Stoops said, we got to work in this facility. This isn't a PR firm.
Yes, that too. That was a subtle shot at Cal. And the staying in my lane, I think, was because, Cal gets all, how he gets on, you've been in a press conference.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was crazy. But that to me, like, there's more than just it's just him calling him a basketball school in this. But I'll get into this in a second. But I want to say this: people like there's a lot of fans like saying the Alabama and Georgia comps aren't fair, and you can say that, and that's fine. Like that's fine. But you know who those comps you're going to hear those comps from? Staff at Auburn, staff at Florida State, staff at Tennessee, staff at Michigan State. On like the guys staff at Cincinnati, those schools that they're recruiting against all the time are going to throw that in their face, and so they're just going to have to deal with that. Like you said, he said the quiet part out loud, something you could not say.
Yeah.
And then when Jedrick Wills or Damian Harris show up again, Nick, in state, Alabama's probably going to use that too. So you're going to have to fight when they're recruiting Cutter Boley down the street here.
Yeah,
they're going to have to fight against that. And so like now you see like Mississippi State's women's basketball coach, Arkansas's athletic director, Tennessee's athletic director. I mean, on and on are all taking little pot shots at Kentucky. So like that created a storm or whatever. But I guess my big question here is like, I don't think short term, like everything like Stoops and Cal probably make up. It'll be fine short term. But it's pretty clear that there is a fight for funding dollars going on in that athletic department.
Yeah.
Where is the money going? Where, Joe Kraft is the player. Like, who is he with? This and that. Cal having to call out his former players seems like a kind of, last minute leverage move to me a little bit because he maybe not have the money. And then how it's like we heard Mitch Barnhart talk about the strategic plan, how they had all these plans for, you got this football indoor, you're going to rip out the track, but to do that, you got to go build a new indoor track facility. Where they're going to put the indoor track facility now messes up the tennis thing that was been in plan for multiple years. So now they got to move tennis. So you got to go through all this. And if Mark Stoops, if you go back and watch the Kentucky-Florida game this year, TV copy, Dan Orlovsky is the color analyst for that game. He talks 5, 6, 7 times about how Stoops believes he can turn Kentucky into a top 4 SEC program. So that if top 4 SEC program means you're top 15 every year, give or take, average over a 5-year period. If he's going to do that, it has to be funded. He has to know that they can keep investing in this. Basketball and football. If Kentucky wants football, if they want to compete in the SEC and be good, it's got to be 1A with basketball. It cannot be basketball 1, football 2. They've got to be together operating, and football's got to get what they want when they want. And so it comes down to me: are the dollars there for them, for both these guys to coexist? And I don't know if there is. And
right now, Luckett, I can tell you that is definitely the case because from my understanding, for what I've been told now, I'd like to hear it from more than one person, but essentially Cal is saying, hey, I can get my former players to pay for all of this. You don't even have to worry about it. But Mitch Barnhart doesn't want that to get done before he can raise the money for everything else. And it sounds like he's struggling to raise money for that practice facility upgrade, for that indoor track. And that's essentially what he said. He's like, we have a pecking order here. But I think the problem is Cal could cut the line because he's got former players that have made $1 billion and can easily write the check to cover for $25 million in upgrades or whatever it might be. And so that's where this really turned into a pissing contest. And I think for Stoops' sake, what actually turned out to be a blessing was that Mitch Barnhart went and shoved his foot in his mouth and said stuff like the quote that our friend YouTube Trey's got pulled up now, which is, he went and said they've got every opportunity to do the things they want to do to be successful. That's not changing as long as I'm here. And if it's not good enough, coaches change a lot, which really was strong language. And he went on to say, we've been here a long time because we've been successful, and I'm going to keep doing that. I don't think he needed to add that coaches change all the timeline, and that might be his undoing. But he tallied it up. It's 44 years of experience between Mitch Barnhart, John Calipari, and Stoops. Obviously, Mitch didn't work with all of those guys for half that time. But to have 3 guys in prominent positions of power at the same university for as long as they have, that just doesn't happen in modern college athletics. Eventually, that's going to turn sour. It just does. There's an expiration date on all of this stuff. And it feels like Cal is entering his third and final act. But what's it mean for Mitch Barnhart? You know, I don't know about you, Luckett, but like Mitch is definitely of the old guard. That's the way he handles everything. It's the way he treats. I mean, he drug his feet with Nil. He drags his feet with a lot of stuff. And frankly, I don't want him hiring any more coaches. So how they progress forward in some like healthy fashion, I don't know. But the more Mitch talked on Saturday, the more I just couldn't believe it. That was Luckett. You were in person. I was watching from afar. I don't think you're ever going to attend a crazier press conference than the one you were at on Saturday.
Yeah, the aspect, like let's just go back. Like the best thing Mitch did was right. Like Kentucky had a very much a booster driven culture, how the athletic department ran.
Similar to
cut
Auburn.
that off, and he made Kentucky's athletic department like a part of the university where that they didn't have that outside influence where it could be run like a real company, instead of rich guy Johnny telling him who to do, what to do, and making sure like everything is balanced. Like there's checks and balances, and that they can use money to increase all the sports teams. Right, they can give them all facilities and yada yada. But now we're in. It's the world's different. Now the boosters are more involved now, right? Because NIL. So you gotta, and then fundraising is huge. Right, like that to me, maybe that's the biggest issue we have here. It's just he's not. You need more of a fundraiser in this point in time. That's what you need. You need to go out and fundraise. And if he's having issues, like you said, fundraising, that's a problem. That can't be an issue. Like Kentucky has a chance here with Stoops and the football team. Like they really got a chance for sustained success here, but you got to be able to financially commit and make it happen. And if basketball and football are all trying to reach for that, whatever money Kentucky has, like Kentucky's not Texas A&M. Like there's not a lot of millionaires out there just ready to make it happen. They just don't have that. And so like, it's just an interesting times because the more Stoops wins, like the more he's going to want stuff. And you can go on the coach rankings and wherever Stoops is, those other 15 names he's with probably don't have to fight.
Right.
On campus to get the stuff they want. And that's right. Go ahead.
You mentioned A&M though, too. Like Kentucky is in a unique position that not many other schools are in. How many other schools have had this much success in two major sports? Maybe A&M made the College World Series in baseball, but that's you don't.
Yeah, that's a different sport. Like the big like doing it, the football, men's basketball is just that's different.
Yeah, that's a much higher price tag to be at the top sort of level. So like the fact that there aren't a whole lot of schools that have this sort of problem, and the timing of all of this coming to fruition. What brought up that quote that Mitch Barnhart gave was a question from Mark Story saying, hey, is this or do we have another Bear Bryant, Adolph Rupp situation on our hands? And right now, Mark Stoops is doing a bunch of stuff that hasn't been done since Bear Bryant was there. Kentucky was ranked number 20 in the preseason AP poll for the first time since 1978. And what's the stat? Is it first time finished and started a season in the AP poll ranked since Bear was here?
They haven't done it since 1951, and then Bear left 2 years later.
Yeah, I mean, so like there are a lot of parallels. Mark is 2 wins away from surpassing Bear Bryant as with the most wins in Kentucky football history, and so we just there's been a lot of stuff building. I don't think there was a ton of animosity between Stoops and Cal leading up to this. I think there was certainly some fracturing on Calipari's side of things. And he picked a poor time to start pleading for more money, which is right after losing early in the NCAA tournament.
And he you got to think let's go back to Kentucky beats Louisville. And there's all that rumors about Stoops and he meets with Barnhart, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was part of the contract negotiation leverage.
Yeah.
It was more bigger recruiting budget, and it was getting that expedited to the top of the line that he wants that done. And he agreed on it. And then, but Cal doesn't have any. Like now, this gets to the point about how much power you think Kentucky's basketball coach should have on his campus, because he doesn't have contract negotiation power. He's got a lifetime contract.
Yeah.
So he's just kind of stuck. And then then you have on-field results. He are on the court in this case with basketball, and St. Peter's lost in worst year ever. And like I said, he hasn't won something big that the fan base really cares about, whether SEC crown, SEC tournament title, Final Four, national championship. Those are the 4 big ones that people care about. He hasn't won one of those in 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how all this shakes out. But you're right, like with Mitch, like I think like he's done a good job here. He has his flaws, right?
Yeah.
And they're in the public and people don't like him. We wish that he would sell beer at the stadium.
Still not gonna do that. Over like it's dead body will Mitch Barnhart deliver Bud Light to the general fans.
He was wrong and slow with how he handled, I think, NIL.
Yep.
It's just like there's just a lot of things adding up on him here in the last year, 2 years.
Yeah.
It just feels, and you're
Baseball
right. Like he doesn't.
Spiraling.
You are right. You are right. He's hired enough coaches here, right?
Yeah.
But if he leaves, like this new AD is going to be walking into a hornet's nest. If you've got these 2 top of the line coaches who are, are fighting for funding money, I just don't know if they can all coexist in like 5, 6. That's my biggest takeaway. You're right in that Mitch kind of Stoops and Cal are maybe in like a little pushy match at the bar.
Yeah.
And Mitch came in, took it in the street, and him and Cal just started throwing haymakers.
Mitch picked up the beer bottle.
That is what happened.
Cracked him on the head. He took it too far.
And so, overall, I don't blame Stoops for doing what he did. I think, Cal probably wish he termed it right. I think Stoops kind of had to do what he did. I think he took a low blow when he responded. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Oh, man.
I think Mitch handled that. Mitch should have talked first on Saturday. Nick, why didn't Mitch talk first?
Oh no!
Like why? They should have had a canned message for Stoops to give, and Mitch should have came and took all the questions on the issue.
Yeah.
And so then by the time Mark gets there, after he talks for 40 minutes, all of us, we're out of coffee. We're all tired. I don't understand why he didn't talk first. That makes no sense.
Well, that's why Mitch only does 2 press conferences every 5 years. He's not good at the media.
Before the practice ends, he should have came in there at 11:30, and we should have duked it out in the media room. And then Stoops could have came in, asked a few questions, and it would have been done instead of what they just handled that very, very poorly. Yeah,
it could. I fully anticipated that to be a de-escalator, and instead it turned into it was just throwing gas on the fire. It was a mess, and it's also all our fault. So I'm sorry, everybody listening. It's the media's fault. We've got nothing to do in August. We don't do any podcasts. We don't write any posts. We got nothing to talk about. So we got to blow up this situation even more.
I really don't think he meant that, but he just hadn't done media. He doesn't answer questions. So what he said came off wrong.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the problem. Like, why are you only doing media once a year, Mitch? Like, dude, this is modern college athletics. It's a little bit different than when you came into power now.
And he talks about Twitter like it hasn't been around for 15 years.
Seriously.
Like we have not been communicating on that as like a sports society for that's just kind of a new trend.
Like 24-hour news cycle is new to him. It's like, dude, CNN started in the 80s, buddy. Like, I know you think it's just some news thing, but like, no, like this is how the world operates now. You got to get with it or get lost. Get with it,
right,
or get lost.
So yeah, it's gonna be. We'll see how all this shakes out. Like, in my scenario about the fight for funding, like both teams are gonna have to keep winning for that, obviously. So I mean, it could be all for naught. But it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah.
I thought Craig Skinner's tweet, which got deleted, was very interesting,
dude,
and it all kind of got forgotten about. He tweeted our Brandon Ramsey and said Cal was wrong. Remember where you came from.
Well, see, I think what's important to note too, is that everybody here is a little wrong in certain aspects, and I can see why they acted in certain ways too. Like, did Stoops go over the top? Probably, but did he have to stick up for his guys? Yeah. In Mitch's case, like he's Cal's boss. All of the other coaches have like Craig Skinner. He wants air conditioning in his freaking gym. Like that shouldn't be too hard to ask. So, like Mitch probably thought, like, I need to stand up for my other coaches and not just, cave to Cal. Like, so I get that each side has, a reason why they acted the way they did, but everybody's a little bit wrong here. I do think, aside from Vito Tisdale popping off a tweet, like it was, for the most part, the players have been the adults in this situation. So I want to commend them. And I do think that like that's the part that got lost in all of this is it's all been done in public instead of private, because privately this team is pissed off. And I think it's actually going to help the football team this fall.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you go by what Matt says on his radio show, they just don't talk. So, like, they kind of have to, if they're going to do anything, they have to do it in media. And basically, like, this is me kind of reading in between lines. Like, Stoops saying what he said when we all thought, like, they were cool, Stoops and Cal. Craig Skinner saying what he said. And then Capilouto comes out immediately in, like, a vote of confidence for Mitch. And he had to know, like, Mitch was probably going to set flames to Cal in that press conference. Like, it seems like they're kind of, this isn't we're getting off football, but it seems like an administration versus Calipari issue. So that's a mess in and of itself. So, right, there is, like, the public perception of Stoops in the college football media. You've already seen it.
Yeah.
Of people, like, really, like, respecting him for doing that.
Oh, Feinbaum dropping haymakers a day. Bob Stoops did not get directly involved, but he did pose the correct question, which is, when was the last time basketball was brought up in realignment?
I mean, Kubelik and McElroy on their radio show, it's a college football radio show, and they talked about it a lot today. Cal and Stoops. Jacob Hester, who hosts a national show on ESPN Radio, said, I respect Mark Stoops for that. He's not having any of that. And then on and on, you've seen a bunch of people, like, really giving him props.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for our locker room standpoint, hell yeah. I mean, he gained a lot there. And I think that's going to get, how they like that chip on their shoulder. They're going to have that. And so it's just interesting. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes to, like, this isn't alignment. Like, this is not – we've talked about alignment. This is not alignment. This is the toothpaste is out of the tube. This is airing your dirty laundry in public. Like you said, all this stuff should be handled indoors or in-house, and it's not. So how it all shakes out is going to be.
Yeah, we're certainly in uncharted waters right now, and it will not be the last of it. I'm sorry to folks who think that, like, KSR is somehow, like, blowing this out of proportion, or let's move on. Like, no, this is.
Yeah, they need the games to start. Like, but
this is, like, without a doubt, one of the, like, it might be the biggest story on Kentucky's campus since the Emory-Riddle package blew open in the late 80s. Like, this is crazy stuff. There's no doubt in it.
And there's going to be the Bear Rupp stuff brought up. I did do some research. Big Blue History put together a bunch of stuff. Oscar Combs retweeted it out, but Big Blue History is a great website.
Yeah, John
a bunch
Scott
of basketball reference
runs it. Yeah.
He did it, and basically, like, Adolph Rupp did get a car from the Boosters, but it was a year after Bear left, and Bear went on, like, a radio. He did, like, it was like when they played Oklahoma before the Sugar Bowl, and they, how the bowl reps will ask the coaches questions, even like they do today. Well, they did it back then too, and he just kind of joked.
Yeah.
But they were friends. What happened was, Kentucky point shaved in 1951. The basketball team got caught.
Yep.
And the NCAA punished the whole athletic department. So Bear Bryant had to deal with recruiting limitations at Kentucky.
It was this was something I stumbled upon recently, just like a random day during the summer. And Mark Story wrote about it. It was a self-imposed, quote unquote, recruiting ban on out-of-state recruits for Bear Bryant. It was right after they won the Cotton Bowl over TCU. It was back-to-back wins, Sugar Bowl and Cotton Bowl. Bear came back and said, we can field a team just fine from guys from the state of Kentucky. Well, then he didn't get Paul Hornung. Paul Hornung went to Notre Dame, and the writing was kind of on the wall. So and
he left for less money to go to Texas A&M.
And that goes back to, that drives back the point too. That was administrative as well. Like that was I forget the guy who was in charge. I don't know if it was Kerwin or Shively. It's one of those guys with old guys with his name on a building there, but it might have been I don't know. Well, one of those buildings. Donovan, that's who it was. Donovan was the president. Like it was administrative conflict as much as it was just Bear and Rupp, quote unquote, not getting on.
Yeah. Well, whoever it was royally screwed the pooch on that.
Yeah.
So, like, and that's just, I mean, that's going to be a talking point. Like, when game day is live on that Thursday game, I think they're at Backyard Brawl. They have a 2-hour show. They're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Like, it's just out there. Everybody's talking about it. And it's going to be on, like, Feinbaum all week. It's going to be the show on Feinbaum. And unless some big news story breaks in college football this week, it is going to be the show. They're going to be talking about it a lot. We're going to get more columns about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, Stoops is going to get asked about it more. Cal's going to, whenever he talks, he's going to get asked about it more. We still have, Cal hasn't really even been asked about it yet.
Yeah, he did a quick little apology thing, but I mean he's able to kind of avoid it because he was down in the Bahamas and he's not going to have to speak for a while. But you're right, this isn't going to go away anytime soon. But like I do want to get to the football conversation because that's important this part of the year. Do you have any parting thoughts on this big dust up before we get to the football talk?
It was wild. I feel like I'm dreaming still. I think it seems like Stoops and Merrill are pretty chummy with Joe Kraft.
Yeah.
From a Kentucky football supporter's view, I think that's good news.
Yeah. Well, who was Joe Kraft with the night after that happened? Was he in the Bahamas with Cal?
I think that's Bahamas
with Cal.
Yeah.
Joe Kraft was hanging out with Vince.
I'm no Johnny Congress, but it sounds like Kelly Kraft is going to run for office, and that's probably going to be important. Who supports her and all that stuff. The one thing I hate for all this, Nick, is for you and your radio show, it's going to be awesome radio for you all for a couple weeks, but there's going to be like heated fights within this fan base.
Yeah.
About football and basketball.
And that's no fun.
In this thing, it's a pressure point. Your allegiances are going to show what you prefer and what you want. Because, you got the Calipari aspect. Everybody's like, you don't run off a Hall of Famer, but then people can easily come back. Well, everybody that coaches Kentucky is going to be a Hall of Fame except Gillespie. That was one hire in 100 years. But the football aspect, you can come back. You can find another coach that could go 6 games over 500, but then you could come back and, Stoops did the yada, yada, yada.
Right.
It's just, I hate it because people are going to eat each other alive on this as long as it's around. And I think I think it's going to be around here for a while. So
I just hope that in general, with the infighting, we can at least unite behind making Mitch Barnhart the enemy. I'm totally like, as much as Mitch is a great guy and has done a lot for the university. Yeah. I don't, the person that sits in that seat, they are far less significant to me than the people who are on the sidelines on those for those football games, for those basketball games. Much more difficult to replace than the athletic director. I mean, Mitch has put how many UK guys in AD jobs across the SEC? You mean to tell me that one of them wouldn't want to come to UK? That Dwayne Peavy wouldn't want to come back?
It's an SEC. It's an SEC gig. You're gonna get top of the line candidates.
Unless you're Tennessee and you just cheated your ass off and you're just stuck with going to UCF to get their entire administration and coaching staff and God knows whatever. You can find qualified people to be suits, to wear that top button, but you don't. So I hope that in all of this, that if Mitch Barnhart did anything with that crazy press conference, he put more of the heat on him and took more of it off of Mark Stoops and John Calipari.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think the next time Cal speaks, probably going to go a long way in how this develops over time. Because Stoops is going to deflect on this.
Yeah.
He's he even did it on Saturday when media came back around and tried to ask questions. I don't think he's going to.
Yeah,
but we don't know. I mean, they're going to all have to sit in a room with Mitch and Eli Capilouto and figure out a PR plan for the four of them. And I don't think that meeting's happened yet. It's Monday.
I'd love to be a
15th.
fly on the wall for that meeting.
So we'll have to see what comes out of that. But yeah, because you got to think basketball team's got the week off. Cal could go a month without talking if he wanted to.
Easy.
So
Easy.
It's going to be. We'll see how it all plays out.
We shall certainly see. They need football games to get here. We're only 19 days away from the start of Kentucky football season, and before they held that press conference, Kentucky held its first preseason scrimmage. And Luckett, I want to have one big takeaway, but I'm a little reserved in that. And my big take is that, man, the stuff we're hearing from this defense, Kentucky's defense actually might be, for as much as we touted the offense during the spring and leading in this with Will Levis and co, the defense might actually end up being the sneaky surprise. It feels like the way that the coaches and players are talking, they know they've got something good on that defense, but I can't get too I can't be too big of a prisoner of the moment because the offense sat a lot of guys during that scrimmage. I don't know how much Will Levis played. I don't think Chris Rodriguez is playing any in that. They had the entire right side of the offensive line out with Tayshawn Manning and Jeremy Flax. So if the defensive line is playing better, well, they should play better when you've got the whole right side of the line not playing in the scrimmage.
Let's start with the good here. I think the defense I think it's very important. You have a thought on a team, right? Like we've spent all offseason coming up with what we thought our projections could be for this team. Is you get in the camp, do not change that too much unless there's like a catastrophic injury. So when I came into the season, I was like, I don't know what Kentucky's defensive ceiling is, but I know the floor is really high. Like because of all these veterans, because of some good recent recruiting, I know the floor is really high. Now I'm getting in the season and I'm thinking, now I'm getting the camp and I'm thinking, I don't want to like go too far, but I do think maybe that ceiling can maybe be raised a little bit. Maybe they have like a top 20 defense type ceiling if everything hits instead of like a 30 to 35 inch defense, which was originally what I thought would it be if everything hit. And if they're a top 25 defense and the defensive line is like a strength of the team, which it sounded like it is, that changes things, I think. It takes a lot of pressure off that secondary, I still think it's got some holes in it. But you've got an old group that runs a scheme and they know everything like the back of their hand. They just know the playbook.
Yeah.
And then you got some young guys really pushing here, and like the class of 2022, Nick, is just looking like a home run with it.
From the top down to the bottom. I mean,
and this Deion Walker development, it's like I've heard that they're playing him at all three spots. Like it's crazy. Not just like he's not just going in there to be a two-gapper at nose. They're moving him, and like he is maybe the best pass rusher in Stewart's room. Long, raw, and then you hear he's long, raw, and he plays with power. And so once he puts it all together, he's going to be kind of a freak show for them. So that's pretty exciting, I think. And then because then it just changes that entire room, right? You knew you had depth.
Yeah.
But if you got this freshman stud, then it just changes everything. Then it becomes like you're bringing, Ripka and Hayes are potentially rotational pieces off your bench.
They're 4-star recruits.
Like your first five, like you're putting that up there with just about anyone in college football, and that's exciting.
When they signed Walker, and it felt.
Well, it was when the Kayante stuff was going on, so it just kind of got lost in the sauce,
right? But like he has the same measurables as Jordan Davis, as a high school senior, and you can't do like I know that can sound like I'm just going over the top, but like no, there's only X amount of people that are that big and can move that well. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's it.
You just don't know. Like these big guys, for me, you don't really know until you get them there against guys their size and how they play. It's kind of hard to evaluate them. Really, like we make fun of the camp stuff, but I think those camps are really important for big guys like that because then you get to see them with guys that are similar size to see if they can still overpower those guys, even if they're not playing real football, and to see how they move against guys similar size. So like you can watch the high school tape and some of these highlights are laugh out loud funny, but you don't really know until you get them there. So him flashing like this, I think it's pretty impressive. He was the talk of Saturday. Stoops gushed about him. And then I had like Stoops saying the pass rush is looking really good, specifically, and he wasn't talking about the outside guys. That is very promising.
Well,
because that's going to make Weaver and Wright so much better if there's no room to move or maneuver in the ahead of them in the pocket in the interior. If they can get a good interior organic push from the inside, and if they have that length, that's a big thing with Walker. He didn't need to give much of a push to have an impact in the pass rush because he's so damn long.
Yeah, and forgive me if you hear something in the background. Neighbor just got out the chainsaw, so who's not chainsawing at 3:30 on a Monday? But I think that I'm glad you brought the pass rush aspect of it because Kentucky's been good at stopping the run for the last 6-7 years. The problem is the college football's changed, and stopping the run, as much as Stoops loves that stat about. He hasn't brought it up as much lately, but it was like if you run more yards than the other team, then you're going to win the football game. Like that's not always the case anymore in the SEC. And a lot of teams they play this year are reliant on talented quarterbacks. So that's how you help a secondary that they really struggled last year that has more experience now. But the best way to help them is just by getting in obvious passing situations and getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands while under duress. So that's a very positive development. I think the brightest spot that you can say so far about Kentucky football fall camp.
Yeah, the defense, we'll have to see about the secondary, but like they've got depth now, so they're going to be able to throw some different bodies at teams where they're not just going to be stuck like they were last year. And then if this pass rush can take a step forward, it can be good. So all good things about the defense. I think if you're going to get the bad, I don't know if it's you wanted to hear more about the offense. I'll say that. Like that, it has me a little worried what it's going to look like coming out. You add in some of these injuries, the old L sounds like they're pretty banged up. I don't think it's nothing like long-term they're worried about. But they need to get those guys healthy right now. So that's a worry. And then, you're young at some of that receiver and some of these other spots. So maybe we might need to prepare ourselves for a slow start to the season for the offense. It's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm very interested to hear what we get this week and hear some intel from the second scrimmage to see if maybe they kind of take a step forward. Because that's really offense. We just don't know. And if you go back, like last year, offense was a story in camp.
Yeah.
It was just, the defense was telling us how like crazy this offense was and we couldn't stop them. You're not hearing any of that this year. It's the defense kind of overwhelming the offense. So we're going to have to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah, and that's a case where the schedule is kind because I can still see Kentucky just running the damn ball for 350 yards in the swamp and winning like 17-10 or something like that. Like you can see Paz just still starting 4-0 and while the offense kind of gets its feet underneath them because I think a lot of this is going to come down to you got talented receivers, but they don't have the relationship yet developed and cultivated with Will Levis. I was happy to hear Dekel Crowdus made a couple contested catches during the scrimmage. That's a guy, we talk a lot about the true freshman. We forget about the red shirt. And Barry Brown, he's just going to do Barry Brown once or twice a game.
It keeps growing. Like he's going to have a huge role. Him and Dan Key are going to be the starters at receiver. It might not be game 1, but it'll probably be by game 5. So that's your future there, right? Yeah. And then you add that with Tavian Robinson and everything they have at tight end. You just get the offense. Like the more I look at it, it's like it's got to be like it's the Levis and Scangarello show. How many strides did Levis take as a player in the offseason? And can Scangarello, with teams not having much tape on him, can he scheme stuff up to catch people by surprise? And can he use Kentucky's unique kind of skill talent? Because it's a lot of running backs and tight ends. Can he take advantage of that and scheme stuff up? That's the whole story here for them moving forward.
Well, and the big part for me, I guess if if you were to ask me what the biggest worry this season is, it's not only just like I feel like Rich Scangarello is good, but how good is he? We don't know. But the one thing that Liam Cohen did is he wasn't too stubborn about running his stuff. It was just like, all right, this ain't working. We're changing it. Kentucky is just you should be able to run the damn ball regardless. But at wide zone, that outside zone could be real boom or bust. And
it's hard to be too critical if you've got O-line turnover issues. Like if they've got there in camp and the O-line can't, you've got guys going in and out because of injury.
Yeah, but I just mean like if you're sticking on a boom or bust play and there's more bust starting off, like that can lead to some problems and force Will Levis to make some into some situations you don't want to be in.
Right, you're right, but they're not like it's not just going to be a wide zone stretch offense. They're going to run pin and pull. I mean, the Niners do some counter stuff. I mean, they do a lot of. I don't think it's just going to be that. Like, I think the one thing I would maybe is are they too overwhelmed with concepts and formations and all that? That would be because that seemed like what it was early in camp. It was just a lot. It's an NFL offense.
Yeah.
So maybe, if you could get that, but if they're banking on, they got a lot of smart players, they could figure it out. They could have something, but we'll see. So we were really going to have to see them. I mean, we just don't know, but I would feel a lot better if it was just like, we saw them take a step, or you heard some good things about the scrimmage, because it sounded like they started slow possibly Saturday, but then they got kind of warmed up there towards the end.
The other thing too about these offensive line potential concerns early on, you have the personnel elsewhere to help them quite a bit because your running back room is loaded. You can use two backs, have one of them, run a route or something, have the other one helping pass pro. But the other thing too, the tight ends seemingly are stealing the show in this fall camp, and it is a KSR caller's dream. I mean, they're getting so much love, and it's not from the guys we'd expect. I've heard Keaton Upshaw's name uttered 0 times when I ask about who's playing well. It's like Jordan Dingle, Justice Dingle at fullback, and then Josh Caddis. Josh Caddis, I don't know where the hell that Vince Merrill found this dude. Like, I just need to know from Vince, like, how did you know? Like, because that's not what he does. Doesn't pop on tape. Him just mowing down dudes, blowing them up, and getting the whole team fired up. That's not stuff that that pops off in a highlight reel. He's got that dog in him, and that's the kind of that big blue wall mentality, that Kentucky football hard ass mentality. Like, Caddis has got it, and it is infectious, and people love it. Even if he only plays in 4 games, by God, he's going to bring the hammer when he's in there.
There's certain positions you should, like, if a program's recruiting a lot of low 3-star guys at a certain position, you should worry about. Tight end's not one of those. Like, every year in the draft, there's guys like Josh Caddis who weren't like super highly ranked coming out of high school, and then they were just awesome, and they come from every school possible, these tight ends. So Kentucky just found one, I think, right here.
Yeah. I think part of it too, like tight ends are like multi-sport athletes too, like that, and some of them have that basketball body.
Well, I mean, they're not doing it. Usually in high school, they're not doing what they're going to do in college. Right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Which brings me
Caddis
to the point.
Caddis kind of did. I mean, he had the pedigree, and you see some of the stuff he did blocking wise. I mean, we talked about it when he committed. There was some special stuff he was doing here. That he's been able to do it right away at Kentucky has been what's the most surprising thing. But yeah, tight end like Keaton Upshaw. I asked Mark Stoops on Saturday, or someone did. I don't know if I did. I didn't ask him that. Someone else did. It sounded like a hamstring. He said soft tissue. I'm assuming that's hamstring. If you are open practice, he was slowed down, Nick. He had to be pulled. So it sounded like
hamstring then. Yeah.
That lingered on for here in the next week. So can't make the club in the tub. Especially can't do that in a loaded position room. That's also a reason to be excited about running back. All those guys are having to bust their ass right now if they want to play. So that's another reason to be excited about that group. But a tight end like Upshaw, man, he missed a lot of time in spring. He wasn't able to be full go coming back from that pectoral injury. Now he's dealing with his hamstring. It's probably going to be hard for him to get on the field that first month or so of the season.
Yeah, Brennan Bates, he was just talking about the physicality of this camp too, just it being a freaking meat grinder, So like they aren't pumping the brakes at all. They've got plenty of body. So if one of them is slowed down, there is enough to go around to make sure that Kentucky's not dropping off at all at tight end. I did want to mention something like it because I think our listeners will get a few laughs. Because I did end up getting stuck guarding a former NFL tight end at my old man basketball league this week. And big shout out to my guy Ruck. I was at least smart enough to I got out of the way in time to not get dunked on. But the big saving grace is my guy Ruck, who is like an in shape young 20-something. It was the most impressive shot block I've ever seen. Like this dude, he was Lamar Jackson's tight end, cocked back to dunk it, and he just met him at the rim and pinned it. It was unbelievable. So NFL tight ends not fun to guard when you're an old washed 30-year-old.
Is this a league that you can charges allowed in this league?
Oh, I tried taking a charge. They didn't give it to me. It was bullshit.
It would have been worse if you try to take a charge and then he didn't call it and then he just dunked and the ball landed on your stomach.
Oh man, it could have been so bad. But I'm the consummate. I can't jump with anybody anymore. And I've also found too, jumping is how you get knee injuries, how you get ankle injuries. If you just stay on the floor all the time, you're good. You're good. So I just try to take charges and people just like laugh at me. I'm like, dude, I'm big tree falls hard, man.
You're below the rim player there on the hardwood.
Oh yeah.
You would fit in well in the Big Ten.
My hip is killing me today. So that just shows you where I'm at on the wash scale. Luckily, this league only lasts till like I think the first NFL Sunday, and then I'm done. So we just gotta keep on pushing through.
It's a little good cardio for you, Mr. Roush.
Yeah. I need it. I definitely need it. But like we do have briefly Kentucky football recruiting. Kenton Kirkland's announcing his commitment tonight. Looks like Florida State decided to put their foot down in that one after losing a couple of DBs to Kentucky. Cats had some momentum, but similar to the other recruitments where Kentucky made a late surge, Florida State is making that late surge with Kirkland. And even though we're recording before, it's probably official by now that he is a Florida State cinnamon roll.
Yeah, I think Florida State won this one of many battles. I think they've won this one with Kentucky. The one to really watch out for here, Nick, is Kendrick Gilbert out of Indianapolis Cathedral. He's been on record saying he wants to make a decision before his senior season starts. Well, his first game's on Friday, August 19th. So if he's going to make a decision, it's now. He visited Kentucky and Purdue late July. So it's kind of down to those two, and it's gotten quiet. Now, this is a kid, Nick, like he's got the measurables. 6'5", 292. He's got like a 6'9" wingspan. You're looking at like what Deion Walker's doing now. This guy kind of has checks some of those same boxes. I think he's going to be due for a ratings bump here as the cycle progresses. This would be a big recruiting win for Kentucky. He would be one of their better players in the class if they could get him in the fold. And his teammates, Danny O'Neal, who's a quarterback Kentucky's recruiting pretty heavily in that 2024 class. So this is a big one. If they could wrap that up, that would be a very, very nice win. In Indiana, a place I don't remember them ever recruiting. Here was
Morgan Newton, Carmel.
Yeah, I mean, you have to go back to Joker, right? Yeah.
I will say Purdue did get a recent big recruiting win. Millie Bobby Brown, she's going to Purdue. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah. So there's some stranger things afoot.
11.
And West Lafayette. Another player I wanted to mention, Marcellus Pulliam cut his list. And the reason why that's significant is that Kentucky wants to get 2 inside backers in this class. And a lot of guys have fallen off the board since they got Grant Godfrey. They had, I want to say, like 6 or 7 4-star dudes come to campus in June. Ohio State whiffed on a bunch of guys. So they went and took Arvell Reese. He's off the board. Stanquan Clark, he took an unofficial to Kentucky. He just announced his commitment to Louisville. And then Jaden Robinson was another guy they got to unofficially visit. He committed to Florida, I want to say a week ago. So Pulliam
from South Carolina, Florida. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but committed to Florida. But Pulliam, he's one of the few guys still left on the board that Kentucky can go out there and get. He's got some good tools in his bag. And I believe South Carolina is the top competition in this one.
Good size at 6'3". Auburn is a big one here, I think. He's already scheduled an OV to Auburn. He was at their Big Cat weekend, which is kind of their big trip. So I think you're going to look at another Kentucky-Auburn battle. Kentucky going to have to get this kid on campus for fall OV. That's where they're going to make their move. It's going to happen. It's going to be for that. So, like, Nick, they have a few commits here that haven't taken OVs to Kentucky. You're looking at Grant Godfrey, hasn't taken OV yet. You're looking at Jeremiah England, hasn't taken an OV yet. So they're going to have there's going to be a game where they have a big one. So guys like Marcellus Pulliam and whatever other targets emerge are going to be the ones you need to get there. There's going to be a big one probably in October. That's going to probably be the difference maker. And my biggest question moving into the season, I went on a little Twitter rant the other day. You can go on my feed and find it, which pretty much states like where Kentucky is as a recruiting class and where this class could go. Pretty much they're right on average where they've been the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Where they are right now, if they finish their overall, that would be the third best class in the last 6 years, behind 2020 and 2022, who were the top 25 hauls. The top 25 haul is not out of the realm of possibility, but it feels unlikely because you're just not in on enough high-quality prospects right now. But we've seen the last 2 years them close on 2 top 100 kids in season. Trevin Wallace, 2021, and then Barry Brown last year. Can a guy or two like that emerge this season?
Yeah.
Whether it's coach firing or whatnot, or they just somebody that had a recruitment has lingered and they're able to get in on the hunt. That is the one I think, or that's the kind of development to watch. Like Carmelo English is outside the top 100, but he's kind of in this category. Everybody knows him. If Auburn caught fire like people think it could with Brian Harston here in year 2, that's an obvious one. But there's probably an unknown or two name out there that will emerge, and so that's going to be the big thing to watch when that player or two kind of becomes a reality. Can Kentucky close on someone like that? It's kind of what I'll be looking out for in the season, especially if they're winning. If the wins are piling up a little bit, they're going to be able to, I think, maybe get a couple potentially like this, which would be huge for them. And then that's when they could really make a run at like a top 25 class.
It's something we'll be following, maybe not as closely as some of the other stuff at the University of Kentucky right now. I am looking forward to looking. This is typically the dog days week of camp. You get one final scrimmage, and then stuff seems to kind of slow down. But we've had so much else going on that we haven't really been able to dive into the stuff that normally takes up a lot of oxygen at this point in fall camp. So it's been unusual fall camp with the Big Blue Bahamas, with the Big Blue Beef as our
Big Blue Beef.
Oh, I love that YouTube trade. That's a freaking awesome tag for it. So even though things typically slow down, I don't think they will be for us over at the Kentucky Sports Radio compound. We will be getting into a new regularly scheduled programming kind of deal with all of our podcasts here soon. We're just working our way through training camp, but soon enough, things will feel pretty normal. We've had preseason NFL games happening. 2 cats have already got cut. I was shocked Lonnie Johnson got the first cut at Kansas City. That was, former 2nd-round pick. He was in the first wave of cuts. Only one preseason game.
His career in Houston didn't go great. And it kind of it kind of stayed the course there in KC.
Yeah. So
is Dane's brother still there?
Dane's brother still on the team. Kennard's still there. But Westry got cut in Carolina. The one that I was happy to see, though, Lynn Bowden, very happy. He got a touchdown, had a nice return. He did some really good things in his first football action in a while. And there was a report that the Dolphins are shopping him around. Like that's what he needed to get. You rarely see players get chance number 3. He's probably going to get chance number 3 this fall.
Lynn's best case, right, is keep playing well this preseason. Probably get traded to a team with a bad receiver situation. Which is probably going to be a team with a bad quarterback situation. But that's going to be the best way for him to get on the field.
I could see him going to like New England or something, like who they got catching passes up there.
Right. Something like that. Houston.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Something like that.
Can we name Houston's quarterback now?
Davis Mills. Right to Stanford.
It was going to take me a second, but I remember Davis. Oh, man.
Yeah. Football. I saw Baker running around, Baker Mayfield in that Panthers jersey, and I was like, whoa. And then I saw Wentz Carson Wentz in that new Commanders jersey, and I was like, "What is that? The XFL? What this is
hideous."
Yeah,
but hey, football's back. It's getting close. We're getting teases. I finally watched the Dan Campbell Hard Knocks last night, and if that team right there, if they aren't the most football guys that have
they
ever
got some
lived.
Ass kickers on that team.
Those Deuce Staley and Aaron Glenn are just like fighting each other every day in practice. That's got to be banana land up there for Stenberg and Pass. So I saw Stenberg. He was surprisingly breaking up a lot of fights, not starting them. So turning over a new leaf.
Off brand. I know. I still need to. Usually, I can only last the first 2 episodes of Hard Knocks.
Yeah. It gets old pretty quick.
But I did see the Aiden Hutchinson, Billie Jean.
Yeah,
that was good. That was TV gold. But yeah.
We're getting there. We're inching closer.
Are you going to watch the South Carolina version or the NC or mainly South Carolina version of Hard Knocks?
Only way I'm watching that is if somebody clockwork oranges my ass and has to pry my eyelids open. Ain't no chance in frame. Because like if anybody is going to play up to the TV cameras, it's Shane freaking Beamer. That dude. You couldn't. Oh.
Yeah. He apparently he went viral on Twitter again. Imagine that.
Oh.
But I refused to watch. Like I heard he took the team up to the nosebleeds and said, our fans watch sports from here. Something. I'm not doing it. My mind is made up on Shane Beamer. I'm not taking the bait anymore. But Miles Brennan, Nick, retired. LSU quarterback. Jaden Daniels has won that job. At their scrimmage, he got all the snaps for the ones. He was competing with Garrett Nussmeier, but Nussmeier has an ankle injury. So Jaden Daniels is going to be starting week 1 against Florida State.
That'll be Jaden Daniels versus Jordan Travis. Are they going to have more rushing attempts with quarterbacks or passing attempts?
the old dual threat joke. But yeah, that is Miles Brennan. Weird career, man. Weird career. He was there before, like he was expected to be the starter until they got Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
And then he got Joe Burrow, and then he comes in 2020. If you look at his numbers in 2020, the games he started, he played well, but he got hurt, and then the Orgeron thing last year. Just a weird, strange career for him.
But I do think that for our fans, we will be having our win totals podcast coming up next week. That's something to get excited for. If you want to get fired up, just look at the week 1 board. It is tasty. There's some live dogs out there. Oh, you bet your sweet ass I'm betting Neil Brown in that backyard brawl opening week.
Their win totals last year, we did pretty good on those. I think the last 2 years we've done pretty well. Like this is probably my best return on investment is usually season win totals. So that we're crunching the numbers for that right now. I have looked a little bit, not a whole lot yet. What is it? Kentucky, Miami, Ohio. Is it still 3 touchdowns? Right about? You seen that one?
Something like that. 20.5.
Yeah. What's West Virginia catching?
6.5.
Oh, that's a tough one right there. But yeah,
it's juicy. It's juicy. But I will say too, we'll just go ahead and announce it here. We're going to bring back the oft-used pick 3 last year. Just 3 picks for me, Luckett, and Roush. So we're going to bring that to scratch that gambling itch each week. Hopefully they're better than Luckett's PT's picks of the week.
Can't get any worse.
Can't get any worse. So we're going to have plenty of content for you over on the KSR YouTube page. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to 11 Personnel. Thank you all so much for joining us. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. Go Cats and go Kroger.